Welcome back to the ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we will dive deep into the explosive drama unfolding on Tuesday, October 28th, where family secrets, shady business deals, and heartfelt confrontations threaten to shatter alliances in Port Charles. In a tense moment at the heart of the Ashford family turmoil, Curtis Ashford sits down with his ex-wife, Jordan Ashford, in a quiet corner of the police station, his voice steady but laced with regret as he carefully explains that their marriage's collapse has layers far beyond her involvement. Curtis delves into the personal struggles they've both faced over the years, recounting how mounting pressures from his gambling recovery and her demanding career as commissioner created an unbridgeable chasm, emphasizing that no single blame can be pinned on her dedicated service to the community. He paints a vivid picture of their shared history, from the early days of building a life together amid the chaos of Port Charles to the recent betrayals that eroded their trust, assuring her that his path forward is one of self-reflection rather than resentment toward her. This heartfelt exchange is abruptly shattered when Trina Robinson bursts into the room, her eyes flashing with a mix of protectiveness and unresolved anger from her earlier confrontation with Jordan outside the station. Just days before, Trina had cornered Jordan in the hospital parking lot, her words sharp as she demanded that Jordan keep her distance from Curtis, believing her mother's influence was the root of the family's unraveling. Trina's intervention stems from her deep-seated hope that she can play the role of peacemaker, imagining scenarios where her parents might reconcile over family dinners or shared milestones like her art gallery openings, though the stark reality of their irreparable differences looms large, with Curtis's newfound focus on personal growth signaling no room for reunion. As the conversation hangs in the air, a heavier secret weighs on Jordan's mind, her knowledge of Portia Robinson's unexpected pregnancy, gleaned from a confidential medical briefing that could upend the entire dynamic. Jordan grapples internally with the ethical dilemma, weighing whether to disclose this bombshell to Curtis, who remains in the dark about the child that could tie their worlds together in unforeseen ways, potentially reigniting old flames or sparking new conflicts within the blended family. She envisions Curtis's reaction, a mix of shock, joy, and confusion, while considering Portia's fierce independence and Trina's already fragile emotional state, deciding for now to hold back but hinting at unspoken truths that might force her hand soon. Shifting scenes to the bustling General Hospital corridors, Trina storms into her mother Portia's office without knocking, catching Portia and Isaiah Gannon in the midst of a whispered discussion that sends a ripple of surprise through the room. Portia, ever the composed doctor, maintains her poise as she waves off the interruption, but Isaiah, the newcomer with his mysterious past tied to international aid work, stumbles over his words, his cheeks flushing at the unexpected intrusion. Trina pauses in the doorway, her curiosity piqued by the intimate vibe, apologizing profusely while scanning the room for clues, oblivious to the romantic undercurrents that have been building between the two since Isaiah's arrival in town. Unbeknownst to Trina, Portia and Isaiah had been finalizing plans for a secluded weekend getaway to a rustic cabin nestled in the woods outside Port Charles, a gift from Lucky Spencer during one of his globe-trotting adventures, complete with a stone fireplace and panoramic views of the lake. They detailed the itinerary with excitement, hiking trails by day, stargazing under clear skies by night, and quiet moments to escape the hospital's relentless pace, hoping it would deepen their budding connection amid Portia's complicated life as a single mother and professional. Trina's timing misses the specifics, leaving her with only a vague sense of intrigue, her expression a blend of concern for her mother's well-being and subtle jealousy over the budding romance that might pull Portia away from family duties. Meanwhile, across town at the opulent Metro Court restaurant, Marco Sidwell shares a charged lunch with his father, Jens Sidwell, at a prime window table overlooking the harbor, where the elder Sidwell's eyes light up as he declares that everything truly has its undeniable appeal, in a tone that hints at calculated ambition. Jens, a shadowy figure with ties to high-stakes international finance, leans in to elaborate on a potential investment opportunity involving rare artifacts smuggled through Port Charles ports, describing the allure of quick profits and influential connections that could elevate their family's status. Marco's subtle frown betrays his unease, shaped by past experiences where his father's dealings led to legal scrapes, yet he can't deny the excitement of being pulled into a world of luxury yachts and exclusive deals that promise to reshape his own uncertain future. Their discussion weaves through layers of family legacy, with Jens reminiscing about building their empire from modest beginnings in Europe, now eyeing expansions into real estate that border the Quartermaine properties, appealing to Marco's entrepreneurial spirit while raising red flags about ethical boundaries. Marco probes for details on risks involved, such as rival bidders or law enforcement scrutiny, but Jens dismisses them with charismatic assurance, suggesting this could be the key to securing Marco's independence from corporate drudgery. As the conversation deepens, it becomes clear that the appeal extends beyond money to a father-son bond tested by ambition, leaving Marco torn between loyalty and his growing moral compass. In another corner of the Metro Court, the air thickens with familial tension as Sonny Corinthos reunites with his daughter Christina Corinthos Davis over steaming cups of coffee, their easy banter quickly turning serious when Christina hesitates, warning her father that her upcoming revelation might stir his protective instincts into overdrive. Sonny, ever the vigilant mob boss turned legitimate businessman, leans forward, his brow furrowing as Christina unfolds the story of her mother Alexis Davis's bold courtroom strategy to defend Willow Tate against charges stemming from Drew Kane's shooting. She explains how Alexis, drawing on her sharp legal acumen honed from years of high-profile cases, plans to pivot the narrative toward Michael Corinthos as the true orchestrator, portraying Willow as a victim of Michael's jealousy-fueled manipulations in a bid to clear her name. Christina elaborates on the family fallout, recounting late-night arguments where Alexis cautioned her about the backlash, emphasizing that exposing Michael's role could fracture the Corinthos Davis clan further, especially with Willow's claims of being framed amid her ongoing health battles post-transplant. Sonny absorbs the details, his mind racing through implications for his empire and relationships, questioning Christina's loyalty and relaying this while appreciating her honesty in a town rife with secrets. The exchange highlights the intricate web of loyalties, with Christina urging Sonny to intervene before court proceedings escalate, potentially drawing in old enemies like the Cassadines who thrive on Corinthos' vulnerabilities. Finally, back at the sprawling Quartermaine mansion, the atmosphere crackles with deceit as Drew Kane persists in his underhanded negotiations with Ronnie Bard, the opportunistic real estate mogul eyeing the historic estate for her portfolio of luxury flips. Drew, channeling his military precision and business savvy, outlines a lucrative offer laced with off-the-books incentives, from tax loopholes to exclusive access to Quartermaine shipping routes, all while ignoring the disgusted glare from Laura Collins, who has wandered in seeking family counsel only to stumble upon this betrayal. Laura's presence adds a layer of moral outrage, her mayoral experience clashing with Drew's ruthless tactics as she whispers warnings about the Quartermaine legacy built on integrity, not cutthroat deals. The tension peaks when a furious Danny Quartermaine and Rocco Falconeri charge into the room, their youthful outrage amplified by overheard snippets of the shady proposal, with Danny decrying Drew's hypocrisy as a family member profiting off their home. Rocco, influenced by his own tangled family history with Nathan West and Lulu Spencer, echoes the sentiment, backing Danny with passionate pleas that echo the boys' shared sense of betrayal amid their adolescent struggles. Ronnie's expression hardens into skepticism, her background in cutthroat New York dealings making her question Drew's reliability, yet she counters by demanding a sky-high price tag, turning the negotiation into a high-wire act where one wrong word could collapse the entire scheme and expose deeper fractures within Port Charles's elite circles. Next, we will learn about the harrowing downfall of Willow Corinthos, whose world has crumbled under the weight of betrayal and injustice in Port Charles. In the shadowy underbelly of ABC's General Hospital, Willow's existence has plummeted to unimaginable depths, transforming her once stable life into a vortex of despair and isolation. The dramatic courtroom chaos orchestrated by Nina Reeves shattered Willow's carefully constructed defense like fragile glass under a hammer, leaving her exposed and vulnerable before the unyielding eyes of the law. What began as a desperate bid for freedom ended in crushing defeat when the judge, unmoved by pleas and protests, revoked her bail without a second thought, dispatching her straight to the grim confines of Pentonville Penitentiary. This foreboding fortress, with its echoing corridors and ironclad cells, now serves as Willow's reluctant home, a place where hope flickers dimly amid the constant threat of despair. Beyond the physical barriers of steel and stone, Willow grapples with a deeper torment, the pervasive sensation that the judicial machinery of Port Charles is rigged against her, turning allies into adversaries and truth into twisted narratives. As she navigates this labyrinth of legal pitfalls, Willow's mind races with the what-ifs, pondering how a single misstep escalated into a full-blown catastrophe that threatens to redefine her entire identity. The courtroom spectacle unfolded with ruthless precision, courtesy of Nina's impulsive interference that unraveled Willow's alibi thread by thread, painting her as the prime suspect in a heinous plot. Nina, driven by her own tangled web of secrets and loyalties, took the stand in a moment of reckless testimony that exposed inconsistencies and ignited doubts among the jury, effectively sealing Willow's fate in that stifling room filled with onlookers. Willow had pinned her hopes on a bold maneuver, convincing Drew Kane to fabricate a recollection implicating Michael Corinthos as the real perpetrator behind the shooting. In her frantic calculations, this lie could have shifted the blame and bought her the breathing room she so desperately needed. However, her newly appointed counsel, the sharp-witted Alexis Davis, swiftly dismantled this risky scheme with incisive logic, warning that such a sudden revelation from Drew would reek of collusion and sabotage any credibility they might salvage. Alexis, with her decades of courtroom battles etched into her demeanor, emphasized the perils of tampering with evidence, drawing from past cases where fabricated stories led to even harsher penalties. Instead of this illusory shortcut, Willow finds herself entrenched in a protracted legal war, relying on Alexis's strategic prowess to dissect the prosecution's case, while Drew lingers as a hesitant collaborator, his own burdens from the incident weighing heavily on his decisions. The echoes of Nina's duplicity reverberate through Willow's thoughts, a constant reminder of how fragile trust can be in the high-stakes game of survival within General Hospital's intricate social fabric. As Willow settles into the unforgiving routine of Pentonville, the reality of her predicament sinks in like quicksand, eroding her resolve and amplifying every fear. The prison's daily grind, meager meals served in tense silence, the clamor of cell doors slamming shut, and the watchful gaze of guards patrolling the tiers, strips away the illusions of control she once clung to. Far from the bustling energy of Port Charles, Willow confronts isolation that gnaws at her spirit, forcing her to confront not just the charges of attempted murder against Drew, but the broader narrative spun by her accusers that casts her as a cold-blooded villain. This accusation stems from a tangled shooting incident where tensions boiled over amid family feuds and hidden agendas, with Willow allegedly pulling the trigger in a fit of rage-fueled desperation. Yet, beneath the surface, layers of misunderstanding and withheld truths complicate the story, including whispers of alternative suspects and motives tied to corporate rivalries involving the Quartermaine dynasty. Willow's denial of bail wasn't merely procedural, it was a public condemnation, broadcast across local news outlets and fueling gossip mills that portray her as guilty before proven, intensifying the pressure on her fractured support network back home. Stepping into this maelstrom as Willow's anchor is Alexis Davis, whose no-nonsense approach contrasts sharply with the emotional turmoil swirling around her client. Alexis, fresh from her own share of legal entanglements in Port Charles, brings an arsenal of tactical insights, meticulously reviewing case files late into the night to uncover procedural flaws in the prosecution's buildup. She advises Willow on the nuances of witness testimonies, preparing her for cross-examinations that could sway the jury's perception from villain to victim. Drew Kane, meanwhile, emerges not as a romantic beacon or heroic rescuer, but as a pragmatic asset in this chess match of justice. His reluctance stems from the personal scars left by the shooting, physical recovery intertwined with psychological doubts about loyalties in the Corinthos circle. Willow's overtures toward him are calculated moves, born of necessity rather than affection, as she seeks to leverage his insider knowledge of the events to bolster her defense. In private consultations, they dissect timelines and alibis, with Drew providing reluctant details about the chaos of that fateful night, including shadowy figures and unexplained delays in medical response that might point to broader conspiracies. Caitlin McMullen, the talented actress embodying Willow's plight, opened up in an exclusive chat with Soap Opera Digest, peeling back the layers of her character's emotional turmoil with raw honesty. She described Willow's current state not as mere anger, but as a paralyzing terror that grips her every waking moment, amplified by the relentless scrutiny from both the media and the Port Charles elite. "This is a full-blown nightmare for her," McMullen confessed, her voice laced with empathy for the role she's bringing to life. The actress delved deeper, explaining how the betrayal from Nina has fractured Willow's worldview, turning a maternal figure into a symbol of abandonment at her most vulnerable. McMullen highlighted Willow's internal monologue during those courtroom moments, a whirlwind of disbelief as Nina's words hung in the air, dismantling years of shared secrets and uneasy alliances forged in the fires of family drama. The speed at which circumstances deteriorated, from hopeful defendant to incarcerated suspect, leaves Willow reeling, with McMullen noting the character's frantic efforts to maintain composure amid the chaos, drawing strength from fragmented memories of better days. Yet, amid this suffocating fear, Willow clings to a strategic alliance with Drew, viewing him as a vital lifeline in her bid for redemption. McMullen elaborated on this dynamic, portraying it as a survival tactic honed in desperation, where Willow sheds her defenses to forge uneasy partnerships. She's utterly exposed right now, with no shields left, so she's reaching out for any support that comes her way, the actress shared, emphasizing how Willow's interactions with Drew evolve from tense negotiations to subtle collaborations. This isn't rooted in blind faith but in cold pragmatism, echoing tactics Willow has observed in the cunning maneuvers of figures like her ex-husband Michael, who navigates power plays with calculated precision. By keeping Drew within her orbit, Willow aims to extract pivotal insights, perhaps overlooked details from the shooting scene, like the positioning of evidence or the timing of witness arrivals, that could unravel the prosecution's narrative. McMullen added a nuanced layer, suggesting Willow's approach draws from deeper character growth, where past hardships in Port Charles have taught her the art of alliance building amid adversity, turning potential foes into reluctant shields. At the heart of Willow's unyielding spirit are her two young children, Wiley and Amelia, whose innocent faces fuel her every resolve against the encroaching darkness. These little ones, blissfully unaware of the storm raging around their mother, represent Willow's North Star, compelling her to battle not just for freedom, but for a legacy untainted by scandal. McMullen poignantly captured this motivation, revealing how Willow obsesses over preserving their perception of her as a protector, not a perpetrator. Her drive stems from this profound fear, that Wiley and Amelia might one day look back and believe the lies, seeing her as the monster the headlines paint, she explained, delving into imagined future scenarios where the kids grapple with fragmented family stories. Willow channels this parental instinct into rigorous preparations with Alexis, poring over legal documents and rehearsing testimonies to ensure every angle of innocence is fortified. Inventive elements in her defense strategy include exploring psychological evaluations to highlight her nonviolent history, contrasting sharply with the aggressive portrait drawn by prosecutors, and even enlisting character witnesses from the nurses' ball events who can attest to her compassionate nature amid community crises. The incarceration has not only demolished Willow's fragile sense of safety but has incinerated the last embers of faith she harbored toward Nina Reeves, her biological mother whose actions now loom as the ultimate treachery. In the solitude of her cell, Willow replays the alibi setup, a pact born of mutual vulnerability that Nina so callously abandoned under oath, questioning every shared confidence from their rocky reconciliation. McMullen vividly illustrated this rift, quoting Willow's inner turmoil. How could she drag me into this deception, promise solidarity, and then abandon ship, leaving me to drown in suspicion that wasn't even my creation? The actress expanded on the betrayal's ripple effects, noting how it severs Willow from the maternal bond she tentatively nurtured, reopening wounds from years of hidden identities and lost connections in Port Charles. This disillusionment sharpens Willow's focus, transforming passive hurt into active defiance, as she mentally catalogues Nina's inconsistencies for potential counter-testimony. Detailed analysis of this fracture reveals parallels to classic General Hospital arcs, where family ties fray under pressure, yet Willow's response, channeling pain into purpose, hints at an emerging resilience that could redefine her role in the canvas. Though ensnared and outmaneuvered, Willow Corinthos refuses to surrender to the shadows of Pentonville, her fighting spirit ignited by a blend of terror, strategy, and unbreakable love for her family. As the trial looms on the horizon, whispers among Port Charles insiders suggest unforeseen twists, perhaps Nina's own regrets surfacing or hidden evidence from the shooting coming to light, that could tilt the scales. McMullen wrapped her insights with a note of intrigue, teasing that Willow's journey is far from over, promising viewers a saga of redemption laced with the soap's signature drama. In this crucible, Willow emerges not broken, but forged anew, ready to claw her way back from the brink and reclaim her place among the living legends of General Hospital. Next, we will learn about the shocking twists surrounding Kai Taylor's sudden change of heart and the dangerous secrets he's burying with Trina Robinson in the wake of Drew Kane's mysterious downfall. In the bustling corridors of Port Charles University, where dreams of gridiron glory collide with harsh realities, Kai Taylor's heartfelt apology to Curtis Ashford this week sent ripples through the community. The promising young football star, once blinded by ambition and alliances, confessed to Curtis about a profound awakening triggered by his interactions with Drew Kane, the enigmatic congressman whose shadows loomed large over the Ashford family. Kai revealed how Drew's manipulative scheme to frame Stella Henry, Curtis's no-nonsense aunt, for fabricated financial discrepancies had finally shattered his illusions, exposing the congressman's ruthless underbelly in ways Kai could no longer ignore. This confession, delivered with a mix of remorse and hesitation, caught Curtis off guard, as the seasoned private investigator sensed layers of unspoken turmoil beneath Kai's words. Fans have speculated that Kai's reluctance to spill every detail stems from a deeper fear, the weight of complicity in events that could unravel not just his future on the field, but the fragile bonds he's trying to rebuild in Port Charles. Adding to the intrigue, sources whisper that Kai's encounter with Drew involved a late-night confrontation at a dimly lit campus event, where veiled threats about Stella's reputation first clued him in, forcing Kai to question every promise Drew had ever made. Despite his bold step toward Curtis, Kai remains entangled in a web of deceit that's testing his resolve like never before, particularly when it comes to shielding the full extent of his involvement from those closest to him. The young athlete's guilt gnaws at him relentlessly, rooted in his presence at the chaotic crime scene where gunfire erupted and lives hung in the balance, a moment that left indelible traces, like his fingerprints lingering on a discarded baseball bat used in the fray. This bat, now a potential linchpin in the police investigation, haunts Kai's nightmares as he imagines forensic experts piecing together his unwitting role in the altercation. Compounding his anxiety is the stolen evidence from Drew's safe, incriminating files on Portia Robinson's professional past, including doctored medical records and anonymous tips that could tarnish her career as a respected doctor at General Hospital. Kai frets that dragging Trina and her family into this scandal, through their joint theft, might expose them to retaliation from Drew's powerful network, perhaps even fabricated charges of obstruction or worse. While Trina projects an air of composure, drawing on her artist's eye for detail to compartmentalize the chaos, observers note subtle cracks in Kai's facade, restless pacing during team practices, evasive glances in group settings, and a newfound intensity in his workouts as if channeling inner demons. Could it be that his flickering romance with Trina, marked by stolen moments amid the university's vibrant art studios, serves as the sole anchor preventing him from unraveling completely? In fan forums, theories abound that Kai's vulnerability might lead to a dramatic breakdown, perhaps during a high-stakes game where the pressure of secrets boils over into on-field mistakes. Trina Robinson, ever the poised gallery curator in training, appears more adept at maintaining the veil of silence around their shared misdeeds, outpacing Kai in the art of evasion when facing her protective parents. Portia and Curtis, already on high alert from Drew's earlier machinations, probe gently during family dinners at the Ashford home, but Trina deflects with tales of campus life and her latest painting project inspired by Port Charles's stormy skies. Her strategy, honed from past scandals involving her own trial and exoneration, involves redirecting conversations to lighter topics like Stella's budding romance rumors or Marcus' latest PI case leads. Yet, beneath this poise lies a storm of her own. Trina confides in her sketchbook about the moral tightrope they're walking, questioning if their bond can withstand the ethical erosion. In contrast, Kai's attempts at normalcy falter. He nearly cracks during a casual chat with teammates about the shooting, only to pivot awkwardly to football stats. This disparity highlights a growing tension in their partnership, Trina as the steady strategist, Kai as the impulsive wild card, fueling speculation that her calming influence might soon be overwhelmed by his mounting paranoia. Inventive fan analyses suggest Trina could leverage her connections at the gallery, perhaps consulting a discreet mentor like Ava Jerome for advice on anonymous tips, adding a layer of high society intrigue to their cover-up. The saga traces back to that fateful night when Kai and Trina, driven by a mix of loyalty and desperation, infiltrated Drew Kane's opulent lakeside residence under the cover of a moonless sky, aiming solely to retrieve the blackmail dossier that threatened Portia's hard-earned stability. What began as a calculated heist, Kai picking the lock with tools borrowed from a shady teammate, Trina scouting the perimeter with her keen observational skills, spiraled into unintended horror when they stumbled upon Drew in a heated argument with an unidentified figure, culminating in shots fired and the congressman collapsing in a pool of his own blood. They hadn't anticipated the violence. Their focus was on the safe hidden behind a false panel in Drew's study, stuffed with USB drives and printed emails detailing Portia's alleged ethical lapses during a long-forgotten hospital merger. In the adrenaline-fueled escape, Kai grabbed Trina's arm, whispering urgently that staying meant becoming accessories, even as Drew's labored breaths echoed through the room, a decision that now torments them with visions of what medical intervention might have changed. Breaking and entering was risky enough, but fleeing a potential homicide scene elevates their culpability to felony levels, including possible tampering with evidence if the bat's prints link back. Trina's role in steadying Kai during relapses is pivotal. She reminds him of their shared intent to protect her mother, framing their actions as a necessary rebellion against Drew's corruption. However, whispers from set insiders hint at Kai's conscience fracturing under the strain, especially after learning of Drew's congressional allies circling to spin the narrative as a political assassination, which only amplifies his regret over not calling for help. As they dissect the evening's chaos in hushed late-night calls from Trina's dorm, Kai and Trina have oscillated wildly between full disclosure and stone-cold silence, their trust ebbing like the tides of Port Charles Harbor. Initially, the thrill of the theft bonded them closer, with Kai praising Trina's quick thinking in disabling the home security app using a borrowed code from a tech-savvy friend. But replaying the timeline, arriving at 10 p.m., cracking the safe by 10:45, the gunshot at 11:02, reveals gaping unknowns. Who was Drew arguing with? Was the bat wielded in self-defense or aggression? They convinced themselves their fragmented view offered little value to detectives like Dante Falconeri, who are piecing together ballistics and witness statements from neighbors. This self-absolution allowed fleeting moments of normalcy, like attending a PCU art exhibit where Trina unveiled a piece subtly inspired by shattered illusions. Yet, emerging rumors point to pivotal new clues: a recovered security cam fragment showing two shadowy figures fleeing, or lab results tying the bat to campus gear issued to athletes like Kai. Such developments could thrust them into the spotlight, forcing Kai to weigh confession against betrayal. Detailed breakdowns by soap enthusiasts predict a pivotal scene where Kai, cornered by Curtis's probing, might leak partial truths, igniting a chain reaction that exposes Trina's involvement and strains her family ties irreparably. This isn't the first time Kai and Trina's paths have diverged over loyalties tied to Drew, echoing a turbulent history that once nearly derailed their budding connection amid the glamour of college life. Back when Drew mentored Kai on the field, promising endorsements and pro-scout introductions, Trina pleaded for him to prioritize her family's honor over the congressman's allure, a plea that felt like betrayal when Kai defended Drew during a heated confrontation at the Metro Court. That rift, healed through apologies and shared vulnerabilities during a rain-soaked walk along the docks, now faces resurrection if fresh scandals emerge about Curtis and Portia's intertwined lives. Perhaps unearthed leans on the Ashford garage business or Portia's suppressed testimony from a past malpractice suit. Kai insists he's evolved, vowing allegiance to Trina with gestures like surprising her with art supplies etched with their initials, but the allure of self-preservation lingers. Will he bury the secrets deeper to salvage their love, enduring isolation from his team and the constant dread of arrest? Or, in a bid for redemption, will he chart his own course, risking Trina's wrath and the dissolution of their second chance, a narrative arc that promises explosive confrontations in upcoming episodes, as Port Charles's undercurrents pull everyone toward an inevitable reckoning?